Alright, here we are. Welcome to another anatomy and physiology lecture, and I'm excited to discuss about the requirements of human life. So, basic requirements of human life is four. We need four things. First is oxygen. Next is nutrients. Next, narrow range of temperature, narrow range of atmospheric pressure. So that is the basic one of uh, one of the basic actually. So of course we need oxygen to live. We need oxygen to live. So right here I have a slide here. Actually no. First of all, we need oxygen. Oxygen we need it to breathe, and if we won't breathe, we will immediately die, right? If we won't, I mean not immediately, we will slowly die as our lungs would not, because oxygen is actually delivered into the blood cells, right? Blood cells get oxygen, and that's what makes our blood circulate to our body. And oxygen, a quick turn of oxygen. Oxygen is a primary atmospheric gas essential for survival. Also, brain cells. Yeah, brain cells require lots of energy. And of course, if we don't have any oxygen, we don't have any energy, right? We need energy, so we need to a lot of oxygen to perform our brain cells. Okay. So next, without oxygen, brain damage can occur. Our brain, our brain is the most essential part. If your brain dead, it feels like you're dead, right? Because we don't know. Because without oxygen, brain damage can occur within 5 minutes, and death will follow within 10 minutes of oxygen deprivation. As you can see, 5 minutes without oxygen, we would die. If we won't breathe for 5 minutes, we can die. But some people with really great lungs, they would survive 5 minutes, but 5 minutes is just the average. Okay, so next, of course, we need nutrients. We don't need air. I mean, we need air, but we also need food. So essential nutrients for humans um, are the organic compounds or the basic biological molecules. We need carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, nucleotides, vitamins. We also need inorganic compounds like water and minerals. So nutrients is nutrients in the human body needs a large supply of what we call macronutrients. So macronutrients, from the word macro, we need a large supply. But if we call um, uh, micronutrients, that like the body needs small amounts of. Um, okay, let's talk about carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleotides. Carbohydrates are for carbohydrates are for short-term energy. So short-term energy, if we like to eat rice, rice has carbohydrates in it. We eat rice, we have the energy to study, right? We have the energy to do something. And now, if we eat fats, that's what we call lipids. Fats are long-term energy. So, as you can see, like fat people, not saying that they're fat, but fat people, they have more energy. than thin people. But if they would exercise, they get they 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 use that energy, and are some of those fats will like disappear, right? That's how they lose pounds. Next is proteins. Proteins are for also lipids is also needed for cholesterol and our phospholipids. That is for our cell membrane. Okay, next is proteins. Protein is needed for protein synthesis. That's um, that's essential for our genetic material. But proteins can be get from food like meat, eggs, so on and so forth. Okay, next slide. Extreme heat. This is the narrow range of temperature. Extreme heat, of course, extreme heat. When we have extreme heat, we would not survive easily. We would need a lot of cooling to do. But if like extreme coldness in the winter, we need heat. That's why some house have those fireplaces. So and they will still have heat during the winter time, which is very cold. So we have two types of um, things to remember when we talk about temperature. First is hyperthermia. Hyperthermia is when the body is overheated for a long period of time. Overheated, and when hyperthermia occurs, it can lead to heat stroke and probably death. Hyperthermia from the word hyper is too much, too much, too much temperature, too much thermia. Thermia means temperature. Hyperthermia, too much temperature. Okay, and when our body have also homeostasis. Homeostasis. Our body have homeostasis. If we encounter extreme heat, our body would sweat. So our body will so sweating helps our body cool down using evaporation. Okay, so next is hypothermia. That's the opposite of hyperthermia. Hypothermia from the word hyper, below, beneath normal, less than normal. Thermia means temperature less than normal temperature. So that means cold temperatures. Okay, so if our body is too cold, um, if we have hypothermia, we would not be leaded to heat stroke, but instead we can lead to shock. Shock, we would sometimes, I think, shock or paralyzed rather, but shock is a more accurate word, and it can cause also death. If we're sweating, um, as you see, homeostasis, stability of our body. If our body is overheated, we would sweat. But if our body is too cold, we would shiver. That would make our body generate heat in our body. Okay, next is harsh temperature. So, climbers on Mount Everest must accommodate extreme cold temperatures. So, sometimes you can see hikers in Mount Everest wear those very, 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 very thick jackets, right? And it has, as you can see here, low barom- barometric pressure and an environment hostile to human life. The higher we go, the more harsher the condition is. But the lower we go, the more harsher also the condition is. We should be thankful that we're on average here. So atmospheric pressure, as we can see here, narrow range of atmospheric pressure. So atmospheric pressure, so pressure is the force of a substance in which exerted the substance in contact with another substance. Uh, but atmospheric pressure, um, uh, that's like um, the body. As you can see, if like we go down the deep ocean, they say if we go down deep in the ocean, we will burst, right? That's because um, due to high pressure, but also atmospheric pressure can be also be dangerous, right? Because the higher we go, we have low oxygen levels. As I said earlier, we need oxygen to live. Okay, so that's it. We would not survive in harsh conditions like higher hostile environments. So that's the basic requirements of life. Section 4, 1.4. So of course, I will give you a heads up. Heads up. Next topic is homeostasis. That's what we talked earlier. Homeostasis. Section 1.5. So see that in our next lesson. So that's it for the requirements for human life. I hope you liked this. Subscribe and like if I understood. If you have any more questions, I will try to answer them in the comments below. If my teaching is apparently bad, we can do some work about it. If you have questions, just leave them in the comments. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. Requirement for human life. Thank you for